You're inside the WB Mason Report here on GoHofstra.com. Mike Maravito joined now with the head coach of the Hofstra baseball team, John Russo. Coach, how you doing today?
Good, Mike. Thanks for having me.
So, Coach, this weekend in CAA play, or this past weekend, you guys were off. You had the bye, and how did that rest do for your team after that midweek game against Molloy?
I think it came at a good time. I think position-wise, we're really beat up right now, so we needed some time off. I think it was good to get the pitchers an extra weekend off. We were able to throw a longer bullpen with Verbitsky on Friday to get him ready for his first start this weekend. Joe Berg was able to work on some things this weekend, and then we were able to pitch David in the Molloy game, to get him a game to work on stuff, and I thought he did really well in that game.
Now, you mentioned Brian Verbitsky. He, of course, has been out of the pen in his 2+ years to start at Hofstra. The transition now to the rotation, how has he handled that? And you mentioned you kind of increased his workload. Has he responded well to the increased pitches?
The outing against Delaware was the longest outing of his career, and the thing that was so good about it was he was able to maintain velocity, over the course of 70, 80 pitches, and that's what he hadn't been able to do most of his career. And maybe it's he's stronger, he's got band work he's into, he's long toss, and he's just a different pitcher than he was a year ago. And I don't think there's any reason for us to hold him back anymore. We've got to get him out there and see what he looks like. We have 3 more conference weekends, and Brian could arguably go down as one of the best pitchers to ever been at Hofstra, if he gets drafted as high as what they're talking about. So, I think we'd be, not correct to not pitch him. So it's good to get him out there.
Now, what was the decision process behind this? Because obviously there's been holes in the rotation beforehand, and was this just a move decided by you and your staff, or did he maybe approach you and say he was interested in joining the rotation? What was the thought behind it?
He's been politicking a little bit for the Sunday start for about a few weeks, but our bullpen had been our strength, and it's been helped us to get back here in conference. And I think the thing that made me most confident with it is the emergence of Nick Kozlowski. Once you lose Brian and you put him into rotation, you have to have somebody step up into his spot. And over the past 3 to 4 weeks, Nick Kozlowski's thrown it as good as any pitcher we have. So now I can put him into the role that Brian had in the bullpen, and that makes it strong still. I didn't think I would do it if it was going to make us weaker, but with Nick, I have a lot of confidence, and now we can move David to Sunday, which had been a weakness for us as that Sunday starter, and now it should be a little bit of a strength.
What's been the feeling in the clubhouse? Obviously 9 games left in the CAA. You guys picked way back in February, 2nd in the conference. Of course, there's been injuries, but you're still right there in the thick of the CAA playoff race. Has there been an increased sense of urgency knowing that the season's kind of coming down to the wire?
There has been. Every weekend's been a high, intense playoff series for us, and I think our 2 wins against ODU are turning out to be bigger wins than we thought at the time. The ODU's playing really good. They swept William Mary. They took 2 of 3 from Delaware this past weekend. Those are turned out to be real good wins. Then we take 2 from Delaware, who's in 2nd place in the conference, and now with William Mary coming up, who's in 3rd place, if we can go down there and win 2 of 3, we're right back in the thick of CAA playoff picture right there. I think not only are we a chance to be in the playoffs, which we would take today if offered, but can maybe make a run at 2nd or 3rd place.
Now, back when this CAA season started, you guys, of course, started 0-6, but since then, record-wise, have been one of the better teams in the conference. What has been the biggest change you have seen from that 0-6 start to right now?
I guess consistency would be the big thing to, our offensively, we kind of figured out who we are and figured out how to get going and, have a lineup that, that seems to work right now. Not, great numbers, but enough to put up in games. I think the one thing that we've been able to count on since conference is going is our defense. Our defense is the 2nd best in the conference right now going, and to get the bullpen. That was what straightened us out. Was after the Towson and the JMU series, we had just given up way too many runs, and now with Verbitsky and Schreiber and Kaz and guys out of the bullpen, we've started to win games and been able to put games away. So.
And now you look at that top of the lineup. You mentioned the offense. Last year, it was hard to find a better 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in college baseball, and this year there's been injuries, and you've had to kind of work it around. But have you finally started to find that consistency at the top of the lineup that gets guys like Jackson and Hammer runners on base so they can drive them in?
Well, we have a freshman who's been leading off, Kevin Brantley, and he's had his struggles, but then he has good moments. And I think for somebody like him who this weekend off could be invaluable for him, to gain his strength back, to get some rest. He's played the most games he's ever played, and if he could get hot right here these last 3 weekends, which is something I really think he could do, and he swung the bat really well in the Malloy game, and if he could get hot, and then we get Cafiero back in the lineup, he's been out of a thumb injury. If they could get hot, I think Jackson, Hammer, and Right Setter are swinging the bats as well as anybody in the league, and in the last 3 to 4 weeks in conference play, Joe Perez is swinging the bat as good as anybody, and you have Chris Nardo's hitting 300. So now the order becomes pretty good if we can get Brantley and Cafiero going.
What has been the response by Dalton Rouleau and Matt Ford? Obviously, unable to play this year, but we're right there. First team All-CAA guys last year. Matt was a Defensive Player of the Year. Have they stepped up as even more vocal leaders, and even though they can't be on the field with the team?
Definitely, they've traveled everywhere with us. They're in the dugout. Ford is becoming a good leader of working out and doing different things to help out. And I even see them doing the balls in games, and just any way that they can contribute. And it's just been a real long year for both of them. This is the first time in their careers they've never played, and but they're both starting. Well, Matt's swinging the bat. Dalton started to jog a little bit this past week, and still had some tenderness and jogging. And but Matt should be back to full health in about a month. Where he might be able to go out and play this summer. But we don't want to rush anything. We want to make sure he's 100% healthy. But it's been a long year. But I think that's the thing that we figured out is we figured out how to play without them. And with Perez being able to lock down shortstop, he's been unbelievable. And his defense has been outstanding. And then Austin Nyman at second base, he's been outstanding. And, that's what turned us around.
You mentioned you have the Tribe down in Williamsburg this weekend. You got to see them late in the season last year when they were kind of done with conference tournament, but finished strong. Had a few good arms out of their rotation. Now down in their place, how important is it to go down there and take 2 of 3 and still move your way up these CAA standings?
It's very important. I think every series 2 or 3. It's definitely we need to come away with 1. It's going to be a tough series. One of the things I remember about the end of the year last year when we played them is we were so surprised that they weren't a conference type team because they had conference talent and they had great pitching, and they were as good as any team we saw last year. And now they've got things going the right way. They're in 3rd place. They have one of the best pitching staffs in the CAA, and it's going to be a pretty monumental task to go down there and beat them at their place. But it'll be a big game Friday night. I like that it's a 7 o'clock night game. That's something we don't do a lot of, and it'll be a great atmosphere at a great place, and hopefully we can play well.
Coach, finally, before I let you go here, of course, the players, student athletes, a very hectic time of the year. You go down to Williamsburg, and the next week Atlanta, and then you end it with the defending conference champions. On top of final exams, how do you keep the focus moving forward?
Well, that was something we talked about last week on Wednesday when we knew this weekend was coming up that we'd had off, is for the kids to get caught up. And, we do a good job of, letting them have enough time that they're able to stay student athletes and, don't bog them down with too much. And they do a great job of themselves when we're on these trips of, studying. I go up the bus and you'll see almost every guy with their laptop on and doing some type of work. So, I think those habits are stuff that was brought into them at a young age and by their parents, and they've just continued on here in college. And, we have great kids, and I'm super proud of them.
All right, the head coach of the Hofstra baseball team, John Russo. Big 3 games in conference play this weekend against William & Mary down in Williamsburg. This has been WV Mason Report on GoHofstra.com.